Okay, this one is working. I put you on my right screen and my control board is on my left screen. Okay, I'm going to let the people in, all right? So please stay tuned. Facebook a pretty eloquent analysis. Good afternoon, everyone. Laszlo is here. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for being with us this afternoon. I see we have 29 people already on the line. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation for this live event. So the counter is going up rather rapidly. We are going to get started pretty soon. We still have 3 minutes to go, then we are going to get started. So stay tuned. Okay, so first of all, a couple of housekeeping items. So this is Laszlo speaking. Let me switch on my webcam. So I'm live now, and I'd like to ask one of you, please confirm that you can hear me loud and clear, and you can see my video stream. So please use the chat window and just drop me a message that you can see me and hear me. Yep, voice okay. Thank you, Attila. Great. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. So good afternoon. Welcome on board. Fasten your seatbelts. This is departure time. Why I'm saying that because more than 206 people signed up for this live event. And the good news is we have our presenter with us and we are going to get started pretty soon. But as usual, nowadays people are running from one meeting to another. So sometimes we have to give a bit more time for the colleagues, then we can get started. Right now, the counter shows me 42 people are already online and we are live on YouTube also. So we can get started pretty soon. A couple of housekeeping items. So if you are experiencing any technical difficulties or if you'd like to send me a private message, go to the chat window at the bottom of your screen. My name is Laszlo. I'm the host of this event, and please send me a private message. If you would like to ask anything from our presenter during this live event, please feel free and do so. Again, please use the chat window and just send a message to everyone. We would like to see your message, so please do not send a private message to our presenter. Our presenter today is Dr. Behnam Tabrizi from the United States. He is with us. Let me unmute his line. So Behnam, can you hear us, please? Please unmute your line, Behnam.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Would you be kind enough and switch on your webcam also?
I probably have to leave. Oh, okay.
Yes, we can see you now and we can hear you now, and we see the first page of your presentation. So please go back to the main page of your deck. Thank you. Sure. So go back to the first page. Thank you. So right now we have 56 people online. As I mentioned before, over 200 people signed up. And as usual, we have to give a little bit more time for the others because this is noon, 12 o'clock Central European time, and I see that the country is going up rather rapidly. So if you don't mind, Behnam, I'm going to give another 2 minutes maximum to the others, just to make sure that we can get started with full house, then we are going to get started. So coming back to the housekeeping items, again, for those of you who just joined the call, Laszlo is speaking. I'm the president of PMI Budapest Hungarian chapter. On the other hand, this afternoon, I will be the host of this live webinar hosted by PMI Budapest Hungarian chapter. The presenter today is Dr. Behnam Tabrizi from the United States, and he's going to talk about a very, very interesting topic, as you can see here on the screen, change management roadmap for leading transformation for project managers. Mr. Behnam Tabrizi is joining us live from Budapest, actually, because he just landed here. But finally, we agreed that it is easier if we are going to broadcast this through Zoom. So he is here in Budapest, and this is a live event. Right now, the counter shows me 83 people are already in line, and we are going to get started pretty quickly. Back to the housekeeping items. All lines are on mute. And I also switched off your webcam, guys. So please, if you do have any questions or comments to our presenter, please use the chat window. And we are going to go through the chat window and all the questions. So during the presentation, please feel free and submit any questions you might have. Okay, again, if you're experiencing any technical difficulties, please be kind enough and send me a private message. My name is Laszlo Kremmer. I'm the host, as you can see here on the screen. So if you're experiencing any technical difficulties, please use the chat window. Right now, it's nearly 100 people already online. So I'm going to start the recording within a second, then we can get started. So good afternoon, everyone. Laszlo speaking. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for being with us. As I mentioned, my name is Laszlo Kremmer. I'm the president of PMI Budapest Hungarian chapter. This live event is hosted by PMI Budapest Hungarian chapter. Today, the topic is change management, a roadmap for leading transformation for project managers. And I'd like to welcome our special guest, Dr. Behnam Tabrizi from the United States, who's going to take over from me. So without further ado, I'd like to pass the ball over to you, Behnam. Over to you, please.
Thank you, Laszlo. And hi, everyone. And I was looking at the list of participants. We have, of course, many participants from Hungary, but we also have participants joining us from United States, England, Spain, Germany, and even Egypt. So this is a very international group. I'd like to have really a conversation in the next hour. I don't like to be in a mode of just lecturing. And so, as Laszlo mentioned, any questions? I mean, all of you have been involved with some kind of a change project or a transformation, and I'm sure you have questions. So feel free to write the questions on the chat box, and I will try to address them as I'm going through this presentation. But in my view, the best presentations are those where I engage with the participants. And given the rich background of the participants here, I'd like to be able to have your questions, just type your questions and we can talk about it. I have been working in the field of transformation for the last quarter of century. I notice a lot of people are from technology background. I studied the bachelor's and master's in computer science and worked for IBM Research, and later switched to the business and studied a PhD in business from Stanford. But I did study high-tech industries and technology industries, and my doctoral thesis was about agile development, agile product development, and then I switched to my favorite topic of transformation. So my hope is, my main goal today is by the end of the hour, I introduce to you the topic of change and I get you guys excited to continue to explore this amazing topic, if you will, because I really believe it could be a game changer in your career, especially those of you who are project managers, which I believe they are the arteries of the organization. And it's very critical for project manager to take a lead in transformation efforts. I have, I just want to make sure I have written 7 books on the area of transformation, digital transformation, personal transformation, organizational transformation. And have coached over 100 organizations. And about a few years ago, PMI contacted me. I'm a faculty director. I used to be a faculty director of a program at Stanford University where a lot of PMI graduates came and studied there. And a couple of my former PMI members of the class, including Ricardo Vargas, called me and they said, we're trying to build a competency in transformation in PMI. And because personally, I love PMI and I love the grassroots efforts of people like Laszlo and other country managers and members of PMI, I thought this is a great opportunity. So we put all of that into what we call a Brightline transformation compass, which is an amalgamation of mainly of two of my books, which is Rapid Transformation, which is published by Harvard Business Review Press, and also The Inside Out Effect, which is really personal transformation. So the thing I want to talk about next is the fact that just about every study of transformation, and including mine, it shows that over 70% of transformations fail. And that is a big number. And I can guarantee every one of you in the next few years, especially what goes on in the world, what's going on in the economy, the global economy, every one of you are going through some kind of a change and transformation. And by the way, the way I define transformation is a quantum leap improvement in the performance of the organization, whereby a culture is transformed. So if an organization is interested to lay off a large number of people, and it's very unfortunate when they call it a transformation, because that's just job cutting, that's just doing a hatchet job. But if they're interested in terms of improving culture, changing mindsets, finding ways to grow, that is what I call a transformation. In 2018 alone, and that has been actually going on in the past few years too, there's a lot of money that was wasted in digital transformation because most people don't know how to do transformation. But I believe transformation is a skill that all of you could learn. The other thing that it really, still when I read this, I get goosebumps, that is basically over nearly 85% of people, employees globally, are not engaged in their work. What does that mean? That means, according to Gallup poll, 85% of people in organizations are either sleepwalking at work or they actually are working against a lot of change effort and a lot of initiative that the organization is engaged in. So these are really, really important things to be thinking about. And I will be talking about how we can actually address these key issues. So basically, the drivers is that, part of the problem is we do not engage our employees, right? We oftentimes change is done from a top down, and that's one of the main reasons why change fails. Because the farther you are on the organizational hierarchy, the less you know about what the real business is like, especially at frontline. That's why I believe a successful transformation needs to engage employee at the lower level of the organization and create a sense of community, bring the thought leaders together within the context of leadership. So leadership still needs to be involved, but it's very important that we create ownership, if you will. The other issue that I think is also very critical is that transformation don't connect employees' personal North Star to the North Star of the organization. And I know many of you are in tech industries, and we're kind of learned to be very cerebral and be very logical. But at the end of the day, I have realized that the most important thing about transformation is emotion. Not that logic is not important, but emotion, passion, engagement, imagination, discipline, those are very, very critical to create a movement of transformation. That's why I wrote the book Inside Out Effect, which is about how do we personally go through transformation and how do we align our dreams and our things that we're committed to the commitment of the organization. And just so that you know, later on I'll talk about a company called Microsoft. They have done this with every one of their employees. I have trained many of their executives at Stanford, and Amazon is also engaged on that. The next one is the why of transformation. Often it's not clear, and the reason is we just say we need to change, but we don't clarify the why. And if people don't understand the why, they're not going to be helping you and so forth. By the way, I haven't seen any questions, so my hope is that you guys would be asking questions. Oftentimes, transformation is way too slow. And slow transformation fails because transformation is really about momentum. In fact, every CEOs that I have talked to, what they've told me is that they wish they had done it faster, if you will. So it doesn't mean you cut major steps, but it means that it's important to move fast. And you want to make sure that the transformation cycle is shorter than the cycle of your ecosystem. Okay, that's why I wrote the book Rapid Transformation. This one I think is very familiar to all of you, and that is often organizations feeling that they are incapable of transforming their organization, bring in armies of consultants from outside who have no clue what you guys do, and then they try to come up with this very slides, thick binders, if you will, trying to tell you what you need to do. And I believe that's one of the other reasons why there's such a high failure risk in organization. So just to summarize, we need to rely on the people inside. We need to engage people inside and be able to create a sense of ownership with transformation. Okay? So any questions, please just write me a note. I'm actually looking at the chats and would love to answer any questions. So the Brightline transformation compass that I want to talk about, it's got different elements. One element is the North Star, and that is basically where the organization is going. What is the vision of the organization, if you will? And so there's a question by Gabor, is that can a transformation be considered as a project and perform as a project manager? Absolutely. To me, transformation is a complex program which consists of many projects. And this is what I'm going to talk about. That's why I believe project managers, program managers could play a huge role in this transformation. So thank you for asking that question, Gabor, because it's a motivation why I call project manager as a critical role, that once they master this transformation process and skills, they can drive this because it's a complex program. It's a complex program, but we have to make sure that we don't just rely on checklists. In my classes, I talk about different levels of a project manager. It's kind of like those of you who've done karate or martial arts. There is a project manager that has a yellow belt, which is the kind of introductory type of things, where they basically learn to go through checklists. And at the black belt, red belt is really great project managers, are great leaders. They're very good self-awareness. They connect people at the visceral level. They engage large number of people and so forth. So what I'd like you guys to do is to develop your skill as a project manager to be leaders and play a critical role to do this. Transformation, assuming we know where we are and what do we want to transform. How often popping up the problem when even the starting point is not clear? In other words, from where? Okay, that's a great question, Attila. The most critical step of what I talk about transformation and the Brightline transformation is a diagnosis. So without knowing where you are, there is no way you know where to go. So it's very critical to do a complete diagnosis, kind of like when you go to a doctor, you do MRI, you do CAT scan, you do urine tests, you do all kind of tests, right? So we will engage a large number of people to diagnose the organization. Of course, the leaders kind of basically create the context and they coach these teams. But it's very, very important that we do diagnosis before we decide where we want to go. You have a vision, you come up with a very detailed diagnosis, and a critical part of this diagnosis is to understand the root causes. So these are very important skills. I was just done with the transformation of one of the largest banks in Asia, and we engaged about 70 people with the help of project manager to be able to come up with an amazing diagnosis. Is there a big difference between a transformation and a change management? Another great question from Gabor. I'm just going to give you my personal views. One of the problems I have with change management is that a lot of times is basically is project management. And a lot of times change managers engage in very incremental changes. And let me just share with you this. If everybody in the organization is involved with incremental changes, by the way, your job in organization is to create change and improve your environment. But the problem is, after a while, there is a misalignment where everybody is going to different directions. There is no alignment. And I know you guys who are project managers, most of your job is done in terms of alignment. So the transformation I talk about is a little bit more radical. It's more like a reset. And you basically try to move the tanker ship to the right North Star so that you can, go through the choppy waters together. And after that, you can do a lot of change management. But I'm almost just about every organization I work with, whether it's Google, whether it's Amazon, whether it's a bank, whether it's a telecom company, a reset like this, it's just so powerful because you align everything. And after that, you engage in incremental changes. Okay, so let me now go through the entire system of Brightline Compass that I put together for PMI. And by the way, there are 3 series of organizational transformation courses you can take within PMI. One is the foundation course, orchestration, and a strategy course. And these are all available. And I have been involved in putting those courses together. So it will go into a lot more detail. It's called the Organizational Transformation Series, if you will. So to me, transformation is kind of revolutionary change, but then after that, you do evolutionary changes and so forth. So I'm all for transformation, revolution, and then lots of evolution once your tanker shift is moved, and then you make improvement and so forth. Thank you, Zabina, for a great question. So a big part of this compass is an inside-out employee transformation. In the past 8-9 years, I might be the first person in the field of transformation that I know of that I realized the biggest challenge to organizational transformation is personal transformation. And that's why I wrote the book Inside Out Effect, and it's about personally going through transformation. And I know we have someone from Spain here. In my classes at Stanford, I teach about Don Quixote. And Don Quixote is about imagination, it's about commitment, it's about joy. And those are type of things we want to create, because oftentimes with the Great Resignation, with the COVID, with all the problems going on in the world, it's so easy to lose engagement, to lose your empowerment, to lose your commitment. And the question is, how do you put that flame back into individual uh, people and so forth? That's why Inside Out is important. But after that, you manage a complex program, the question that Gabor asked. So you come up with this a new transformation operating system that I'll talk about. You recruit lots of volunteer armies across the organization. With the help of project managers, you basically orchestrate all of this together, that I will talk a little bit more about, if you will. So the Brightline Transformation Compass, at its center, is about people. Okay, at the end of the day, transformation is really about people, and it's about changing the mindset of people. Okay, it's very, very critical to change the mindset. Even with digital transformation projects that I work in, I wrote an article for HBR. It's called Digital Transformation is Not About Technology. It's the most viewed article that I've ever written for HBR. And it's a relief to a lot of technologists to realize the biggest change in transformation is changing people's mindset, if you will. And so what's critical is creating a movement that aligns the inside with outside, okay, with the vision of the organization, inside of every individual, and also bringing the outside in. That means a lot of organization get involved with a lot of, in-house fighting, challenges, politics, a lot of what I call BS, if you will. And so by creating this alignment with the help of project managers, you connect people's emotion to a roadmap for a major transformation and so forth. And that's why you have customer insight and mega trend as a big part of this. Oh, thank you for posting that. Inside Out Effect is one of my favorite books. It's basically about personal transformation. And in this book, I also talk about my own personal transformation and so forth. And thank you for posting the Brightline Transformation Compass. Laszlo, the thing that I want to mention is, let me talk a little bit about the Inside Out Effect book. And it's the core of Inside Out Effect is, how do we create a personal vision statement that is unique to you? It's just connected to your DNA, and it gets you up in the morning and gets you excited to go to work and so forth. It's really not about like, oh, I want to make a lot of money, or I want to just be the most powerful person in my organization, which there's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, there has to be an innate internal compass that drives us, and we need to be clear about what this compass is all about. So I have my inspiration comes from Helen Keller, who could not see and could not hear. And Helen Keller used to say, it's really a pity to see but have no vision. And I took SEE from Helen Keller, and basically what I want to share with you is that it's important for you to create a personal vision statement is to understand what your strengths are. And the question is, how do I find out my strengths? Well, some of you know about your strengths. I always talk about, like, if we all have a certain superpower, and we just need to double down on these superpowers. There used to be like, oh, find out all the weaknesses you have and improve them. Kind of like school, right? You're getting A on these, but you're getting D on these other courses. Focus on these Ds and so forth. The real world, I believe you need to triple down on your superpower and just make sure that your weaknesses are not detrimental. So make sure you B- is okay, but focus on your strengths. The world needs your strength. Zabina, God, the same people asking the same questions. So I like to, I thank you for asking these questions. Zabina says, people by nature do not like to be changed. Oh, Zabina, you're so right. I don't know if you're married or not, but those of you who are married, when you got married, some of you probably thought that you can change your spouse. And my question to you is, how is that working for you? So people usually do not like to change, all right? But let me just share with you with something. People or organizations mainly change when there is a sense of urgency or crisis. Times in my life where I've changed the most is when I had a sense of crisis in my life. This crisis could be an existential crisis, or it could be a crisis with family, career, or things like that. So in the book Inside Out, we do talk about that. And building trust and confidence with it's very small step. Yeah, I'm not against small steps and so forth. I believe organizations have so many challenges culturally, strategically, people issues, politically, that often we need to do a reset. In terms of personal transformation, I agree with you. Oftentimes, personal transformation needs to be incremental, but creating a vision statement and knowing your North Star, it's very critical. So you can argue whether that's reset or not. Is this related to appreciative inquiry and strength finder? Well, here's the thing, Kevin. Thank you for asking that question. I actually like strength finder, but here's the problem. Sometimes we all have a blind side, so we might not know what our strengths are and so forth. So we also need to engage on part of what I talk about in a lot of my classes or a lot of my training session is that the best way to find your strengths is ask people. Like when I ask my students, they tell me things that like, wow, am I really like that? Or my clients and so forth, or your family members. But also the other critical thing to find your strength is to get out of your comfort zone. Miracle truly happens when you get out of your comfort zone. So all of you who are in this group, I hope that you guys take risk. Part of the problem I see with project managers is they're conservative. Take risks. The biggest regret, there was a study that I referred to it in my Inside Out effect with people who were close to their deathbed, is that they didn't live a life that were true to themselves. They didn't take enough risk. So take risks, take new assignments, and you find things about yourself that you didn't know. The journey of self-discovery is a mountain with no top. And so that is why I love this field, if you will. It also, by the way, one other thing that I forgot is that your personal transformation gives you meaning, and it also needs to make you happy. And by happy, I don't mean short-term happiness, I mean fulfillment, okay? My personal personal transformation vision statement is I stand for the purpose of unconditional love, infinite and abundant energy and passion, and inspirational presence to transform people, organization, and countries while upholding my highest integrity. Now, please don't be intimidated by this, because this has gone through probably hundreds of drafts. I wish I knew my first draft. I remember. I wish I'd kept it. But when you actually, if you have the hardcover of the book or a soft cover, it will walk you through building these drafts for yourself. Let me share with you several things. I'm not always like this. And in fact, my wife always reminds me that you're not your vision statement. But when I'm not that, I'm not happy. And today, as I'm speaking to you, I'm as close to this as possible. That's why right now, as I'm speaking to you, I'm happy. So it's a way it's a moral compass that helps me know what is it that really makes me happy personally. And yours is going to be different. The other thing I want to share with you is that I have some very lofty goals, like unconditional love. Unconditional love, it's something that is almost impossible to reach, because I think there's no more love than a love of, let's say, a parent. And as a parent, I have unconditional love toward my daughter, as close as it gets, although sometimes your children could be annoying. But having this dream, it helps you get centered, and it helps you to improve. Like Zabina was saying, incrementally keep improving. And so for me, this is a goal that I always love to push myself to get there and so forth. And by the way, the other thing I love about a personal vision statement is when I have conflict, it helps me resolve the conflicts. It will melt my ego. So in organizations that I transform, we work on this. We create one, and especially create one that is career oriented, that helps with aligning a large number of organizations. Please ask questions. I know you guys have questions, and I will promise I will answer all of you. The thing that I also want to mention is that I spend a lot of time with my students at Stanford, and my family were getting very frustrated. And so finally, one day I wrote down my vision statement as it relates to my students, and I shared that with my family, and they understood that this is what for me, a school is not a factory. It's really a temple. Students are not my customers. They're like my own children. And being an educator is really not a profession. It's just calling. That's why I spend so much time with the students, and that's why I enjoy teaching so much. So the next question is from Fanny. Do you advise for a project manager, very small company, for managing tasks? I'm pretty much working alone, and projects and engage, and getting the interest of the management and the rest of the team is challenge, especially doing it besides the daily task. Yes, I agree. Remember, Fanny, I mentioned that we got to take risk. We got to get out of a comfort zone. So my hope is, number one is Laszlo put a website where the Brightline Compass is much more detailed, that you can look at it. If you have the resources and time, it's a good idea for you to take those OT series, Organizational Transformation series, with PMI. And once you feel like you are mastering this, and once you learn enough, you don't need to master. Once you learn enough, you need to share with the top leader of this small organization and say, this is what I have in mind, and this is how it's going to help you. Make sure it helps them. Make sure it's a pain point that they are really, it's paining them, and it keeps them awake and so forth. And once you do that, and by the way, it doesn't matter if you work in a 20 people or a 100 people or 500 people organization, engage them, and they need allies, and project manager could play as an ally to create this. And let me just share with you, Fanny, it will be the highlight of your career, because you'll learn so much, you will develop yourself so much, and so forth. And by the way, I have good news for you. Just about every project manager I work on transformation, they have gotten major promotion after this. One that I remember is, there was this project manager, one of the largest companies based in Hong Kong, a global company. The project manager ended up presenting to the CEO of like a 50,000 company or 50,000 people organization, and she ended up working for him. This is in the training material for organization transformation I put together, and I have an interview with Yvonne there. Is there a framework specific? Yeah, this is the framework, and I'm going to talk about this. This whole compass that I talked about, this framework, step by step, it's about how to do it. In fact, here's my suggestion. Last few pages of the transformation compass that Laszlo put up on the chat, you can actually find the step-by-step framework. But I just want to share with you something, because I've spent so much time working with project manager, training project managers. Please don't become, please don't take this personally, but don't become a slave to tools or frameworks. Have sovereignty to see how is this going to help me. I want you all to start building confidence. So use the tool to help you, not you working for the tool, and so forth. I think this is the biggest error most project managers have, is they become slave to the tool, and somehow they lose their leadership capability and how this tool could help them. And somehow, what I did is I created this Brightline Transformation Compass, high level enough and not too much into bits and bytes, so people could customize it to their environments, if you will. Thank you, Fanny. So basically, I want to share with you why this whole personal transformation is a big part of the transformation compass. Pachara Samapala is the president of KBank, and he is a close friend of mine. He went to MIT, studied management at MIT. I work with him to transform the entire retail in KBank, which is the largest bank in the Thailand. And as you know, if you work in a bank, branches are becoming obsolete. The millennials are not going to bank branches, so they wanted to become what most banks do, a kind of software company. But one thing they did, which I'm really proud of, is that they were also committed to keep as many employees as possible. They're not like some of these Western US-based companies that they just lay off large number of people. So we actually took out many people from the branch, I think thousands, and we had to retrain them to be outbound, to be working with customer, to be helping with the customers and so forth, not on the branch, but in a more outbound type of training and so forth. So basically, we went through the inside out personal transformation. You will see on the bottom a picture I have where I met with the branches. I went all over Thailand. We really fired up people's emotions and excitement. The most closest competitor to KBank tried to do the same thing and they stopped because they didn't know how to do this. They were not committed to transforming their people. They did not engage number of people. And so it's very important to engage people. And the top right picture is also I'm meeting with the branch as they're moving and transitioning. This was not easy, but the leadership had commitment. We did have a process which is called the Brightline Compass, and we were able to be very successful, improve the bottom and top line by about 15 and 20%. And since then, I've been working on other projects with them. So please ask any questions you like, because I don't want to be constantly lecturing. I want to engage all of you. And if there's something you disagree, please write it down, and I'd love to find out about your reactions and so forth. So Microsoft has gone through this for all their people and so forth. So you might ask yourself, okay, is this talk is all about personal transformation? No, it's about personal transformation, employee engagement. But the question now is which part of this relates to the project? Because program managers, project managers love to know about projects. And here we go. You ready? We're going to now talk about the project aspect of this. The project aspect of this, or projects aspect of this, comes from the transformation operating system. So I'm sure most of you have watched the movie Matrix. Your organization is like the movie Matrix, and there are a lot of inefficiencies, as some of you mentioned. There's a lot of frustrations, and there's a lot of misalignments. Within what we do is we create a number of projects. We move these projects outside of the matrix. We create a flat Silicon Valley type structure with leaders and these projects. Project manager manages these projects, okay? And each of these projects are cross-functional members from different sides of the organization. They're all working on whatever the challenges are, whether it's culture, whether it's strategy, whether it's branding and so forth. And then they go through this process, what I call the 90 days transformation. That's why project managers need to have conversation with their leaders, because leaders just are dying to have allies within project manager to help them get through these steps and so forth. So the more you learn, the more you can accelerate your career improvement in life. But at the end of the day, when you're also grounded in a commitment, your chance of success even go higher, your fulfillment is higher. So it's not really about reaching your full potential, but also reaching fulfillment. So no, I'm assuming there's no question. So please ask a question. Don't be shy. The thing I want to talk about is that part of this transformation framework is recruiting an armies of champions. Who would actually fit really well within this type of transformation? Those people who are frustrated, but they really want to be part of the solution. People who have things to add. People who are hungry to learn more. So transformation, I always say, it's about, most people work in organization kind of like in a very narrow area. Transformation and working on these projects kind of opens up your eye. It's better than any MBA that you get, because you get to become the author of the transformation. And that's why the armies of champions would love to join, because it's a career changing. In fact, one transformation I just recently did, every member wrote down their personal thing about how it changed them. And it was just amazing what people shared about how this experience helped them. Now, one thing I also want to mention to you is, while you're working outside of the matrix on this transformation operating system within your projects, you're also going to be doing your day-to-day work inside the matrix. But remember, you're probably going to show up differently. So you really are going to be doing two of these things. And I've done this for governmental organization, for companies like Google, Amazon, and others. Believe me, never had a situation where people were not able to manage their time. And part of it is because people learn how to prioritize. So the higher you go on the organizational hierarchy, the better you prioritize what's the most important. Some of the emails they don't get answered, but through this, it's the best career development, if you will, that people could think about. I also live in Bangkok and work there in the project. I did experience a lot of cultural differences. That wasn't easy. Can you talk about cultural communication? Yes, Olivia Satori. One thing I got to tell you about people in Thailand, they're very nice people and they avoid conflict. Let me just share with you a personal story. I went to buy some clothes and the guy was British. So we started talking in Bangkok. And then he told me his wife was Thai. And I say, okay, what is it like? Tell me about it, about the culture. He said, well, she doesn't complain. And she's usually very nice. And all of a sudden, she wants to cut my head off. She's so mad. And this is the culture of Thailand. Both men and women, they avoid conflict, okay? The problem with avoiding conflict is that conflict escalates. And we had to actually have training sessions for people to be straight in terms of talking and so forth, and to be direct but respectful. So this is the biggest challenge. But on the other side, they're nicest people in the world. They love life. And I personally love their culture, if you will. So cultural nuances are, yes, they exist. But look, everyone in this presentation, you're from a different country. And this is what, at the end of the day, respect is the most important thing. Understanding the nuances and be passionate and show you care. Once you show you care, it doesn't matter what language you speak or what culture you come from. People would love to work with you. Zoltan Nagy, I understand frustration can be your ally, but this frustration may point in the same direction you want the transformation to go. Well, let me share with you a story, because for every one of these comments, I have a story. We were transforming this organization, and I met with one of the IT people who were kind of rather senior, and he was complaining to me that this transformation is going to fail. This time they're not going to go. So he just was so negative, if you will. And then I just kept talking to him about the process of the transformation. And after a point, I said, he's really not listening. And then I realized, man, we got to get this guy who's got so many good ideas into the process of transformation. We missed out on him. So what I did is, I like you to be part of the transformation process. Of course, the train has already moved, but I was able to find a space for him. He went to this team that they were working on the cultural transformation, and the lady who was running this team called me and said, "Why, I hate you. Why did you add this guy? He's all negative," and so forth. Okay. So I said, please be patient. He's got some good ideas. He's just frustrated. You won't believe this, but I can just have this image of what it looked like. The first presentation they did, where they did a detailed diagnosis of the problem of culture, these guys like BFF, best friend. I mean, it was just like she came and thanked me, and she said, without him, we would not have succeeded. So I really believe people in general are committed. They want to make a difference in the right context. You can create that. Okay. So that's important. You're welcome, Olivia. So next is, so this is what the operating system is. Again, this is where project managers could get really excited. You have a number of rapid response teams, okay, which are cross-functional teams, where each one would work on different areas. That's up to the leader and you guys to decide which these projects work. So you will have probably 5 or 6. The recent transformation I just did, there were 5, but it could be 6, 7, but there are number of members, but it's led by a central team of transformation leaders. So as you can see, it's a very hierarchy-less organization, no hierarchy. Outside of the matrix, the program manager or project managers lead this. We need one PMO and perhaps a few project managers. They orchestrate this, and they all work on diagnosis, prognosis, and implementation of this transformation. And within these rapid response teams, you also have extended teams. So you could potentially engage 5 to 10% of your organization or a business unit within this. All right, you guys gotta have some question. Somebody should ask a question so far, because my hope is that to get you excited and to just continue on this journey, because I want to share that passion with you. I'm committed to your success. I want every one of you to go out there, learn about this. At the minimum, go to the website, download what Laszlo shared, and try to learn as much as you can, if you will. So please ask your question. Okay, so people ask about the framework. Here's the framework. At the early part, you basically create this rapid response team, you create a vision for where you want to go, you engage the leaders, you get them excited, and you identify people and recruit people. Second stage is you define a blueprint for a transform organization. And this mobilize stage consists of 3 things: diagnosis, coming up as is, a to-be state, and these are really fast-moving type of process, and then also an implementation plan. Okay, and in each phase, so there are 3 phases where people actually present to the leadership, get feedback, and so forth. And then the implementation, which is the shift, begins within this process. If you look at the Brightline Transformation Compass on the last page, we actually go into a lot more detail. But please don't let this framework to be the only thing. Also try to use trial and error till you master it in your organization. And you may want to start small, but then grow, if you will. All right, so let me share with you a few people are now following me on LinkedIn, or send a friend request, and also following me on Twitter. Basically, this is a finance organization of a large organization that we transformed. And this is what they wrote. Just getting the whole finance team together has been massively powerful. Appetite for change, very constructive, powerful. I mean, you really create an amazing crescendo of positive energy, excitement. Remember, organizations, 85% people are disengaged. They're not excited. They just show up, they go through the daily process. It's a right thing to do, to be challenged and ambitious. I'm sure it'll be amazing. We can achieve, we will. I love my company. So it's the best way to deal with the challenges that most organizations have. And what we did during the diagnosis, this is a very international organization, is we brought in customers. We brought in people from different business units where they gave feedback about how finance could improve their processes. And we were able to improve performance. And I have written several HBR articles about this. By about, I think, 30% or 35%, we improved the speed of real-time financial reporting, and it was just a truly. The CFO who actually led this is a friend of mine, and he became the CFO of the entire Asia, the CFO of the year. All right, Zolt Varga asking, what if the leaders are excited to do organizational change, which you have you ever been in such a situation if the management has tried to convince you to support a change that only they could believe in, which as a backstep on the scale of agile maturity? Laszlo, help me understand this question.
I'm reading through.
Okay. All right. So while we're trying to figure out Zolt's question, any other questions you'd like to ask? Let me stop sharing. I can see you all. What if the leaders are excited to do an organization which you'd find as a... Okay, I got it. So basically what Zolt, I wasn't seeing the whole screen. Basically, Zolt is asking is, what if they want to do a change that you feel is like going backward? And have you ever been in such a situation? The answer is no. Even in government organizations, I haven't. Again, I believe that the most important thing in transformation is to make sure you come up with a vision of the transformation that truly inspires people. Now, what I've seen is sometimes the leaders might have a tunnel vision. They don't think big enough. They might not be clear about the direction. So you want to make sure you come up with a vision of transformation, high level, and then have the people in the organizations, the rapid response team, to work on the detail and perhaps navigate the best way to grow, to change the culture, and so forth. So I really believe that I've never seen a leader who means bad. Now, the leaders who want change is because they are. Oh, by the way, what I always one of the things I do in my classes is I say, who needs change the most? And people say, oh, this was like when President Obama was change. President Obama, and then somebody else say, no, this guy, no, that guy. And then I would say, no, the person who really needs change is a baby in a diaper. And so I would tell my leaders that part of your leadership skill is to create that wet diaper for people so they have urgency to change. How do you create that? You tell them about the opportunities for change and the pain points, and business as usual potentially could lead us to crash, if you will. So those are some of the things that I've seen. So I have about 5 minutes. I will entertain any questions that you guys have. I know many of you in Hungary. By the way, there's a Hungarian author, book called Flow. His name is Mihail Csikszentmihalyi. Very difficult name to translate, to mention, but I think I did okay. Another great Hungarian is Puskás, a great soccer player that I love to watch when I was very, very young. Okay, any questions? We have a few minutes. Anyone who has any questions, please. Laszlo, you feel free to ask a question.
Sure. Thank you very much. Before we wrap up, okay, so there's an incoming message. So before we wrap up, I'd like to ask everyone on the line that let me open the poll for a second. So just a second. I opened the poll because we would like to hear from you how you feel about this presentation, how it was, how you feel about the sound quality, video quality. Are there any other topics what you would like to hear about? So please answer these very short questions. Right now we have over 130 people on the line. And if you do have any questions to Dr. Benam Tabrizi, please use the chat window. Okay, there is an incoming message from Sabina
Wow, great
Gajo.
question, Sabina. Yes, you can have English questions.
Sure.
But basically, Sabina, the biggest challenge, one of the great challenges I faced is I was working on a transformation of Nortel networks, and we were working with the leaders, and somehow the transformation wasn't going well. I talk about this in Rapid Transformation book, and I think at that time I was also, it was a big project given my experience. Nortel was, I think, I don't know, 50, 70,000 employee and so forth. But my failure was to realize that the leader really didn't have much power. The power was with the board of directors. And I talk about this in the book. So now if a CEO comes to me, they want to do transformation, I want to make sure they have the board's backing and so forth. But since then, the biggest challenge is people, understand everybody is different. And the key is to find out what ticks people. And I think the most important thing as change leaders, you create trust. Trust is the most important currency for change. And I would say work on yourself, work on your self-awareness, work on connecting to human beings, work on being a human being first than a project manager or leader and so forth. So I think those are very, very critical as well. Guessing Jessica meant in the poll. Great spot. Okay. Any other comments, questions? We can entertain one more question. The person, the three people who, or the two people who didn't like the presentation, I'm sorry. We'll make sure we give your money back. Leslo, how much are you paying me?
Fortune.
Free. It's free. So it's free. But anyway, I'm sorry if we disappoint you, but those 56 out of 79, thank you. And also the 20 out of 79. Thank you so much. Launch and learn, change management. Great. Any other questions? Oh, you got a PDU for this. Awesome. Let me see what other. Thank you for the answers and the great topic stories. Oh, Zabina, my pleasure. One other question. Give me one other question. Anybody else? Laszlo, any question? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Veronica. Appreciate it. Anyway, my hope is that I know that I wasn't able to cover everything, but my hope is that I got you excited about this topic. If I can get a few of you excited, I feel like this was a huge success, if you will. Even 2 or 3 of you to get excited, to maybe read the Transformation Compass, maybe take the Organizational Transformation series and so forth. Connect with me in LinkedIn. If you take these, do these things, let me know. If you come up with your own vision statements, share it with me on LinkedIn. Nothing gives me more pleasure than seeing people go through their own personal transformation and becoming change leaders. Kevin, thank you so much. Thank you. I think we're done, Laszlo.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Mr. Benam Tabrizi. Thank you. I really appreciate, and as people are saying, good energy, and it was a wonderful presentation. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much again joining the PMI Budapest
Emil,
Hungarian
thank you, Arun. Thank you, Anis.
chapter.
Thank you, Zol. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Thank you very much. And now I just shared with you the PDU claim code. This is in the chat window, but obviously I'm going to send an email to all of you right after this live seminar. Mr. Tabrizi, thank you very much for being with us this afternoon. I
My
really
pleasure.
appreciate it.
Yes, thank
Thank
you.
you. Have a good day.
Love
Bye-bye.
Hungary, and thank you for hosting me. Take care.
Thank you very much for
Bye-bye.
coming. Bye-bye.